Hello, listeners! We're continuing our one-shot adventure, Blood Pact Requiem. Now, as Ryan mentioned at the top of the first episode, this arc features a really dark side of the Warhammer universe and includes some content that some listeners might find disturbing, such as enslavement, torture, and body horror. With that in mind, please take care when deciding whether or not to listen to this episode. And if you decide to skip this arc, we've got 2 other weekly podcasts that you can check out in the meantime, Blood and Syrup and Dum-Dums and Dragons. And we'll be back with Valentine's Crew in a few weeks. For those of you continuing with us now, please enjoy the continuation of Blood Pact Requiem. Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is a special report on the repercussions of the events of Blood Pact Prison Break. Set in the Genesys Adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG, this report features Game Master Ryan LaPlante and players Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic. In the search for Sindrian, Flynch let Karl be altered into a huge bone-bladed creature in exchange for access to the Drukhari club. Thrauk and his nemesis did battle, but both lost their hearts in the process. However, Azraul, channeling the gods, spoke a prophecy. On an altar lies the beating heart of a demon. Can they find it and save Thrauk and themselves? Find out next, in this episode of the one-shot, Blood Pact Requiem.
The tenebrous claw is shaking as it soars through the air over Everworld, but you are all inside the armory, gearing yourselves up to journey out into Everworld to claim the demon's heart that is awaiting Thrauk, according to Azraul, who we know wants to achieve Azraul's overall goals. Flynch, you're not really sure what you're doing. Karl, you are pretty sure you don't want this to happen, but you don't know exactly how you don't want it to happen yet. But you have all been given access to the armory in the Tenebrous Claw. So what this will mean mechanically is we get to go to the book, and you get to claim some stuff. I will say, Azraul, you can't change your armor because your armor allows your wings to be included. The other 2 can find themselves some new equipment. Karl, you probably won't be able to use something that's, form-fitted to yourself because your body is a terrifying nightmare. But, Karl, you do have the bolter that you claimed from one of the rubricae in the city outside, so that will still match you, and that will give you no disadvantage while using it. It matches to your scale. And you will also take an Astartes chainsword, which is one sized for a space marine. It's in Thrauk's additional equipment that's just kind of stored from corpses. Thrauk doesn't have backup parts of Thrauk, but when he kills a marine, he basically hauls them in, strips them for parts, and then just throws all their armor in the room before. Traditionally, he eats them, but it's a real back and forth with him, as you've learned over time. So the other 2 of you can find the equipment you want. I'll say you get one kind of item of rarity 8 or higher, and then everything else below that, if you want to try to figure out what you want to take from that armory. We will skip ahead for the listeners at home, but you all get the fun of going to 40K Costco inside here, picking out the very evil corporate weapons that you want. We love Costco. And we're back, our anti-heroes strapped into their new gear. So, Karl, you've got your bolter. You've got this Astartes chainsword where we took a regular chainsword and just added some damage and some pierce and some viciousness because it's bigger and meaner and better made. And then what have you cobbled? What are you picturing armor-wise for our boy?
I was discussing with you off air about how I think hard, shell kind of armor just would not fit his new body anymore. So we're going for more of a something with a little more give, a mesh fabric, and I think it may be 2 mesh vests strapped to, lashed together kind of thing.
Yep, you got several Eldari corpses, just the Eldar to those of us who don't give a shit about what they call themselves. Eldar kind of robes and pieces that you've stitched together, which is a soft, very fabric-looking armor, except when it's tagged, that's where it hardens and spreads the force out. So
this stuff is already stretched across my form. It is where it is robes, flowing fabrics on an Eldar. It is a spandex kind of situation on Karl.
So you're like a giant weightlifter in that classic like tank that's a little too small.
Yeah, yeah.
And here I'm just thinking of Sheer-Tex ads for like the tights that don't break. And there's like people and they're just like putting like random like sharp objects and like pointy objects inside the tights. And that's what I'm picturing.
That's Karl, except the random pointy objects are his bones and they're coming from inside the outfit.
And Karl, would you have fashioned yourself another grotesque? You have all of the options here because you're a de-skin-faced human right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, can you roll me D6?
Yeah. That's a 5.
A 5. There is a leftover Space Marine helmet from a previous conquest that was taken in the war. A Black Legion helmet with a gold star of Chaos Undivided over one eye. And you just take a fucking hammer to this thing and you smash off the side pieces and the back. So from the front, you just have the mouth grate, the Chaos Star over the eye. It's painted black and the red glassed visor eyes of the helmet. And you strap that onto, a piece of leather and slap it onto your head. So you've got a custom made nightmare faceplate.
Excellent.
All right, Flynch, what did you find? The one most likely with all the tech to find the spookiest things.
So I've got my power knife. I'm just keeping that thing. I have reclaimed my Inferno pistol because I looked at like everything else, like nothing is as good as the Inferno pistol. So I am just taking that back.
Yep, a miracle roll from a previous game continues to pay off.
Yeah, it ignores 20 soak, and I like that.
Jesus.
And I've gotten military carapace armor now, like I had in the beginning.
So Flynch is back to being a full Death Squad member, just
baby,
ready for the gear, which has got to be a real unsettling thing for Karl, who's now this like terrifying spiked monster in a completely non-uniform self, looking over at Flynch with all the same gear, all the same weapons, only now all the facial tattoos and scarring of belonging to a Night Lord.
She doesn't deserve it, And my time will come. My moment will come to strike. But it's not now.
Well, may the gods keep their claws crossed for you. Azraul, you are also here, but perhaps not as concerned with the mortal ideas of upgraded weapons or armor. What have you found or made?
Yeah, Azraul's just... He's put together what he has from a long, long time in the warp, but kicking around in the ship, he found some grenades that apparently from their time in the Eye of Terror have gotten all weird. So they're now abyssal charges, which means that they're normal grenades that have been tainted by the warp and have demonic energies, and they do more damage to people if they're wielded by someone with malignancies, which certainly he has.
Wonderful. So I'm going to say that you have 2 of them, Azraul, because they had been affected by travel, but also needed to be souped up. So the time the others spent dressing and getting ready, you spent carving runes and other blood sigils into these to just fully draw the gods' attention to whatever blast is made and dedicate whoever dies to them. What a nice religious experience.
Exactly.
As the tenebrous claw continues to shake, growing more and more violent in the way it is shaking as the journey continues, you just hear Thrauk's voice come on through the intercom just saying, "Get to the exit now." You all know the landing point he's talking about, so you can make your way there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No reason to delay. Yeah.
This is meant
Flynch
to
just
be...
like shrugs everything into place and marches out.
And the ship begins to shake. You can feel it rotating in place. It's lowering down almost vertically. It's got additional thrusters from below that you can feel firing. And you can feel the onboard weapons also just chattering away into the distance from inside until the ramp lowers from the side of the ship and you can feel the ship settling. And you are in a desert Just red blasted sand spreads out as far as possible. And in the distance, you can see a number of different pools of water that are raining upwards from the ground into the sky and then disappearing. As you exit the ship, you look up and you can see what the ship is firing at, there are clouds that appear to be swirling around, and only when you take a closer look do you, Flynch, and Karl recognize these as Furies. These are the scavengers of the Chaos Demon hordes. They are winged. They are very much what you picture as a traditional gargoyle, only a hell of a lot creepier, a lot more teeth, and a lot more murderous. And they are harrying each other in the skies, and the ship is firing to keep these clouds from approaching. What do you do?
Looking out in front of us, what do I see beyond these pools raining upward into the sky?
There is desert as far as the eye can see. It is just this in ever. It's the desolate wasteland.
Do I know whether we're looking for a structure of some kind for this heart that we're trying to get?
All Karl, you, and Flynch know is that there is a prophecy that came to you through Azraul that there is a heart that you need to get. That is the extent of your knowledge at this point.
And it's on an altar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then I would look to Azraul, looking around and seeing it just goes on forever in every direction. Karl would turn to Azraul and say, well, do you know where to go from here?
Azraul would take a moment, look around, realize this is a desert. You know, the desert, it's a perfect open canvas. And he'll take the end of his staff and start writing runes and symbols of the chaos gods and use that to commune to try and figure out where they're going to go next. And he's going to use both his mental powers, but because this is a place that's easy to mark with symbols of the gods, that's even more perfect to commune.
Alrighty, can you roll me a psychic check, whatever the equivalents that you've used before for kind of like trucking with the warp?
You're trucking with the warp. Okay, it's the augury. 1 purple, 1 red. Check. Divination.
Yep, you will also get 2 bonuses to this because the gods have sent you on this quest.
Yep.
To boost, should I say? There we go.
These psyker checks make me miss Piper.
They'd be very different for Piper if I was in this circumstance.
This would be danger for Piper. All right, and if
none of you would be alive, Warden would be very lonely.
Yeah. No. All right, and what are our story points going on?
Story points right now. With you guys having re-geared and stepping out into the storm, I'm going to readjust them. So you now have 4 and I have 1.
Ooh, baby.
I would like to use a story point for the next step of this journey we're on.
Great.
Okay. And that's it. And so, yes, this divination roll, it gives 2 boost to target's next skill check, which would be me if it succeeds. And then
this
also
is
glimpses
just
of the
to
future.
figure out what you hear from the gods. We're Calvin balling this.
All right.
So.
Perfect. It's just, it is going to be what it is. Did you want to add anything or do anything?
No, I think you're good to go.
All right. Oh, this is, hold on, I got to count them because it doesn't count them for me. So it's 1 success, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 advantages.
Hot damn.
It's all becoming clear. Yes. I don't know what, but it is.
8 advantages. What the gods are saying to you that you have to interpret amongst all the different varying, we could say, a lot of noise coming through the space around you is the gods require a sacrifice to open the way.
I see.
It needs to be symbolic. It doesn't need to be huge, but there needs to be a sacrifice. That's the advantage. You don't have to sacrifice a party member or something like that. There just has to be a symbolic sacrifice to open the game.
All right. Well, since this is Azraul's journey and he's doing this, Whatever. Azraul has decided that, especially looking up at the Furies that are circling above, he's going to take he doesn't even have a sword. He will take Flynch's sword and chop off the edges of his wings, like the top ends, and throw them in the middle of the symbol that he has made on the ground. Yep.
Do you say anything while you do this? They've just watched you kneel and then cut off parts of your wings.
Yeah, I think he'll use the edges of the wings and the blood coming from that and make a few more symbols. And I know the way is wrought with sacrifices. I have done this before. What is the right path forward, O gods that guide me?
And the gods just say, walk.
And Azraul gets up and starts walking directly forward into the desert.
That's good enough for Karl. He'll follow this so-called prophet who admittedly showed some pretty prophetic chops back there, floating and speaking with like another mouth. So yeah, he's behind Azraul.
There's a demon heart. Flynch wants it, so this is the only chance.
Fabulous. Azraul, you're going to lose 1 health.
Sure.
Just for the sacrifice that was made here, which brings you down to 15, I believe, from your,
That's correct.
your beginning total. And all of you begin walking forwards. And at first, you all visibly are taking steps at different times as you move forwards. But by the second step, time has shifted around you and the world has shifted, so you are all stepping at the same time. And as you do, the world turns to a brimstone hellscape. And the next step turns it to, a purple dreamscape. And the next step turns it to something else. As you walk, it is the equivalent of watching a wheel spin. They're so fast and they blend together so quickly. But as you keep walking, the shifts begin to slow until you can draw distinctions just briefly between these different places until the world around you solidifies. And you stand in, as far as you can tell, an endless, hellish swamp. You are walking amongst muck. Your boots and feet are sinking down into rotting leaves and corpses you can see left, right, and center. The trees are dying and diseased. The plants around you are covered in mold. Everything you see is feculent and reeks of death, and it is tremendously disgusting and unpleasant. You, Azraul, would recognize this as the Garden of the Grandfather. This is a part of the realm of Nurgle, within the central system in the eye that is controlled by Mortarion. It is a very dangerous place. For anyone. For any reason, let alone people who are clearly walking through. And you know that Everworld is a reflection of all of the other worlds. As you land here, Azraul, because you were the one who made the sacrifice, you feel a pull towards the distance, and you realize that some miles onwards is the next point where you need to step forwards. But you need to lead them there through the garden.
Mm-hmm.
How do you proceed?
The garden. Good God.
Azraul is going as straight and true as possible because he feels that this is the path that they were sent on, and to stray from that will incur danger. That is his opinion. To go to the side or to agitate anything will be to cause destruction. So he will just continue to walk straight and true to that next point they need to make.
And what are you doing, Karl and Flynch?
With this place seemingly remaining the same and not us kind of passing through to an icy wasteland or the bottom of an ocean, I think he will ready his weapons, chainsword in one hand, bolt gun in the other, and follow behind Azraul, assuming that this is the next part of the trial, the test.
Flynch will use her utility tentacle to grip onto whatever stumps, trees, anything that's even slightly solid to kind of make it a little bit easier, reduce some of the weight so her feet doesn't sink into the muck.
And you all travel forwards. For the first mile, couple of kilometers, things seem calm. And then you start to feel a menace in the air around you. You start to feel like you've drawn attention from the environment. Can you all roll me a perception? Difficulty 2.
Perception.
I'm not fucking with any of these rolls, so whatever you need to add for your stuff, go for it. But I'm just stating in advance to save us a lot of negotiation. It's just the difficulty 2. I don't have anything else to throw your way.
Okay.
All right. Just going to roll it.
1 success for Flynch.
2 advantages for Karl.
Azraul got 1 success, 3 advantages, 1 triumph.
Hot damn.
Azraul, you can tell down in your core through the winds of the warp, you can feel the attention of demons. You can feel the whisperings that your human souls, no matter how damaged, tattered, or corrupted, are still bright lights within the warp. All 3 of you have clearly been chosen for a mission. A prophecy has been made. And that means that you're garnering a lot more attention than you otherwise would. You were dropped in the middle of nowhere, which obviously there are not going to be a lot of demons just kind of capering around in the middle of nothing in the swamp, but they are making their way. Mm-hmm. And then when they get closer, Flynch, you're the first one to hear them. And you're just hearing these little like hee just from the area around you, along with a lot of burping and farting and like very, for lack of a better term, but like evil gnome sounds. Karl, you don't notice you're the first one to see them when they arrive. That's the advantage. And what you're seeing are nurglings. I don't think you would have had a great deal of experience with them, Karl and Flynch. So you may have seen some on very specific blood wizards, but they would have been kept away from anyone else. Nurgle is a virus bomb, so you don't really keep those on the stable worlds. And when you do send the forces of Nurgle out, if they're allied with other people, you have to keep them separate or they kill people just kind of hanging nearby. But Nurglings are kind of between 3 to 12 inches tall. They are pudgy, little, disgusting creatures that collect around champions of Nurgle and are kind of loyal to the grandfather, Papa Nurgle, that will look after everyone. And they find themselves playing in corpses and loving rotting things and surrounded by flies. And as you continue to walk through the swamp, you see first 1, and then 3, and then more of them are joining this group. None of them have approached you yet. They all seem to be giggling and laughing. And you see them like shoving each other off of trees, and like randomly one falls down and gets kind of stomped by 3 more and then is dead, and they think that's really funny and continue. But they're increasing in number to the point where you have almost a carpet of these nurglings around, in front, behind, and they're just clearing a little path, Azraul, maybe 6 feet in front of you. That's all the gap you're getting of them. And they're just kind of dancing and watching. And then after another couple 100 meters of this, you just see a couple of nurglings with drums lining up alongside you, and they just start pounding out a little beat while the other ones are singing. They're singing all sounds absolutely disgusting. It's phlegm-filled, it's grotesque, it's discordant.
You say that, but in my mind, it's so cute.
Yeah. And it is speeding up the rotting of everything around you. Can you all roll me a resilience check, difficulty 4?
Okay. Resilience. Do I get anything for that?
Azraul, yours is going to be at difficulty 3 because you love the gods love you, and you've made sacrifices.
All right.
Also, as someone who's trucked with all of the chaos gods, you have more advantages when dealing with any of them in a way that 2 loyal followers of Khorne / possibly atheists now don't quite have the same skills.
Okay.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Yeah, me too.
2 successes, 3 threats.
Wow. Me too. Exactly that result.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I am the opposite. 4 advantages, 2 failures.
Karl and Flynch, as the singing begins and as you are continually exposed to the environment, you're seeing the rot speed up around you, and you're seeing just sprays of fungal growth coming off of trees and flies that are appearing around you. And as you slap the flies an equal number, you can never lower this number of flies. You can tell when they bite you that it stings at first, but you've both been exposed to certain poisons over your time with the Blood Pact, and you've been exposed to a shocking amount of bodily fluids over the time that you were on board the Tenebrous Claw. So the diseases that they are trying to inflict you with don't affect you in this way. The threat, however, after your successes that allowed you to not catch any diseases, is that with the flies and the sounds and the smells, your allergies are being triggered in that way that just your noses are running, your eyes are starting to crust over, all the biggest forms of allergies that are just going to negatively affect your performance. So right now, you will have 1 setback on all die rolls until you can get out of the Garden of the Grandfather. Depending on how bad this gets, it could continue forwards. However, Azraul, you start to develop a hacking cough. So you are going to suffer 2 strain damage just because of the pressure it is putting on your frame. And you will also be with 1 setback moving forwards as this cough just hits you. You know from your time in the warp and from the time with your body that this cannot be a natural disease. There's no natural disease that could get through to you based on the pacts that you have signed with the gods.
Yep.
But this is big. Can you roll me a perception? Or actually, can you roll me a forbidden lore?
Oh, yeah. That's garbage for me, but I will roll it.
Yeah, roll that anyways, because...
Okay. What difficulty?
Difficulty 2.
All right. 1 success, 2 threats.
Oh, that's perfect, because the answer's vaguely threatening, but now you get it. Your guess would be that the gods are on both sides of this issue. There's clearly somebody who has helped you with this prophecy and who is sending you on this mission, but there's somebody fucking with this as well. And that's why you are slightly more susceptible to that push, because you have been opened to all 4 of the gods.
This is true.
Does this change anything that you were doing as a group moving through the garden?
Azraul definitely hacks up a couple coughs and do not get in the way of this, he says. He's keeping on moving the best he can.
Yeah. Karl would be getting impatient, feeling impaired, and just being, I think, out of his depth with being, almost literally knee deep in all of this, Nurgle crap is just so I think he'd be nudging Azraul, kind of shoving him from the back, faster, prophet.
Azraul, do you have a response to getting pushed?
Oh. Azraul will also stumble a step, but not go faster. You cannot rush these things. They happen exactly when they mean to. And he will continue to walk
Flynch,
normal
you're at the
speed.
back as this random shoving match is happening and arguing about the gods. Where are you at on this?
Flynch is now using her utility tentacle to, just before she, grabs onto something, she kind of flicks away the nearest Nurgling. Now it's just kind of trying to just clear a little bit more the path beside. And she's ready to fuck up Karl if he makes it more difficult for Azraul to lead us.
Great. So everybody's thinking about killing each other. This is very appropriate for this party. And you all keep marching forwards through the swamp. As you do, the Nurglings stop getting out of the way. You're now walking through all of these Nurglings. Azraul, would you step on them? Would you try to step around them? What would your response be to advancing through these little monsters?
Azraul would step on them and just step direct. I will not stray from this path. I'm going to step on all these gross guys.
Yep. So you're marching through this carpet of cheering, music playing, feculent little monsters. And you're just hearing them scream like, Papa! Oh, and then they die really violently. And they start, as the wave continues, they start trying to climb onto you all. When you feel them touch you, it starts to, like the liquid on them starts to seep through your clothing. And you feel it start to burn your skin. What do you do? How do you engage with them?
Oh, so Flynch's utility tentacle is just like helicoptering around her now, trying to keep them like off her back and off her sides. And she has drawn her Inferno pistol, just ready to start shooting these things.
All right, Karl.
I don't think Karl can reach all the parts of his body anymore.
Carl.
I think he needs to take preventative measures before they cross like a certain threshold where he can't get at them if they're like on his back or like, over his shoulder blades kind of thing anymore. So he is trying to cut them down in front of and around him with the chain sword. Just
Great.
Taking big sweeping swings at them. Yeah, as he walks forward.
Alrighty. Karl, can you roll me a d6?
Yeah. 2.
You are managing to keep them overall away from you, but as that process is happening, some of the skin is breaking on your lower legs, and you're actually watching your internal parasites go to war with the Nurglings. You only see corpses from both sides behind you as you walk forwards, but Flynch, you're basically watching like maggot on gnome violence, but just like everyone's dying and rotting, and it is not comfortable. Flynch, can you roll me a d6?
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
Karl, what's your wound threshold at right now, just so I can remember?
Like what's the cap at, or
yeah,
what's my current?
Where are you at right now?
I'm at 7 out of 17.
Okay. I meant to say this earlier. They will have treated you on the ship because they've had to do a lot of speed treatments. And with your onboard parasites, you will be back to full health at this point.
Okay.
But you will lose 1. So you're going to go to 16 because the Nurglings versus parasites is still going to be wearing on you.
Okay. I'm counting up to 17. So
Okay,
I'm
great.
at 1 wound of a 17 threshold. Yeah.
Sold.
Okay.
I got a 2.
Got a 2. Flynch, you were trying to keep them away, but they are just so determined. One of them at one point manages to cling on to the end of your utility tentacle and just ride it around like something on the end. Like, where you just see like a mouse on the end of a fan or whatever. It's just that. Like, whee! And then you like splat them into a tree, and then a bunch of the other ones are trying to do that. It's just a real time. So you will also lose 1 point of health as Nurglings begin to burn your legs. Azraul, what are you doing about these Nurglings? You've been stepping on them.
Yep, stepping on them, not worrying about the ones that are on most of his outfit because it's so jangly and heavy, but any that are getting past chest height, it's either swatted away with the little bits of stumpy wing or with one hand because he can't let them cloud his vision or be around his face. That's actually what he needs to protect.
That makes a lot of sense. Roll me a d6.
A 5.
Oh, yeah, you're crushing it. None of these are hurting you. You've had to deal with carpets of Nurglings before. It's not fun, but it's a thing. Your cough is really weighing on you, though. It's physically still miserable, even though you've gone through it. Yep. But you were all closing in on the next step of the journey, and you step through a curtain of rotting vines and end up in a clearing, at the center of which you can see a pit that has been carved down and is filled with rotting corpses. But standing between the three of you and that pit are 3 plague bearers of Nurgle. These are the big monsters of Nurgle. When you look at them, they're nearly 6.5 feet tall. They are broad. They have incredibly sickly humanoid bodies that you can see are rife with disease even from where you stand, to the point where their skin is sloughing off. There are obvious gaping wounds. Intestines are exposed. They've got those very distended bellies and very lanky limbs, and they're all carrying long, rotted swords that you can see flaking off the edge. It as caked in disease as the rest of them, their tips are dragging on the ground next to them, not raised up in a combat sense. And their heads on long spindly necks where you can almost hear the vertebrae collapsing as you look at them, are warped with large open mouths with a few rotted teeth still left inside, and one large, viscous cataract eye that is staring forwards with an off-center warped kind of booboed horn at the top of each of their heads. And they just stand blocking your path between the goal as you step out into the clearing. You are about 30 feet from them. They are looking, might be a generous term, in your direction, but they are standing still, and the Nurglings don't follow through the vines. You can just hear them chanting and drumming from the trees, watching from the outside. What do you do?
Azraul's gonna keep walking, and if they're not gonna stop, once he's in melee range, there's gonna be some violence.
So Azraul is walking towards the plague bearers. Flynch, Karl, you're seeing a lot of confidence from the prophet. What are you thinking and doing?
Yeah, there's going to be some violence like right now. Karl raises his bolt gun. I think he's a little incensed at just just like, no grievous wounds, but just a constant like wearing down, and everything has been gross and stinging and irritating and itchy and sickening, and he's had enough. And he fires on this group of three with his gun, with his bolt gun.
Well, then that's going to be that. Flynch, are you also shooting? I don't know what you were going to do. This will be an instantaneous thing. So Azraul is marching straight forwards.
So Flynch, kind of like being aware of how Azraul was moving, had raised her Inferno pistol and basically had finger on the trigger, ready to shoot if anything happened. So when Karl starts shooting, it has begun.
Great. So we will say the three of them are about 30 feet ahead of you in a line, much in the same positions that you are. So Azraul is the center. There's a central plague bearer. Karl, will say you're to Azraul's left. Flynch, you're to Azraul's right. Which plague bearer are you firing at? I'm imagining it's the one directly across from you, but I don't know.
Yeah. Good start. Yeah.
Absolutely the one closest to me.
Great. You are both firing melee light. Which is amazing with an Astartes. Range light, which is amazing with an Astartes bolt gun. But hey, when you're really big, it's a light gun. It's here to do its job. The difficulty at that range will be 2 by default. Let me double check their stats. You will have 2 setback because they have a range defense of 2.
Plus our additional setback?
Plus your additional setback for being sick, yes.
Ooh.
Shit.
Can I throw out there my tempered will and ask if it has an effect on reducing setback dice? Remove 1 setback inflicted by critical injuries, disorientation, and fear on all checks.
Yeah, I would say this illness would qualify as a critical injury, so that would be there. I just noticed these demons are adversaries, which means it'll be difficulty 3 because their difficulty to attack them goes up by 1. Normally, you would have to take a fear check. But the interesting thing, I think, for you, Karl, and Flynch specifically, because you don't have the same warp experience as Azraul, who, good luck scaring Azraul if you're like, oh, I'm a spooky demon. Azraul's seen a lot of fucking demons. With the sheer amount of torture that has been inflicted upon you, Karl and Flynch, over time, and the rantings and ravings of Thrauk, which to you, Flynch, gave a lot of it a purpose in a way that I don't think Karl got. Karl was very much tempering him as a blade, whereas Flynch, it was establishing purpose and cowardice and the reasons to in its good days. And there's a lot of not great days that were just kind of grunting, screaming, and eating people. You don't find yourselves afraid. It's a circumstance that would freeze even the other kind of Death Brigade members of the Blood Pact. You are unaffected by fear in this warp realm.
Okay.
Nice.
That's That's handy.
All right, let's roll.
I'm going to ask for a story point.
Yeah, go for it.
Which is changing a green to a yellow, right?
Correct. Or if you're all yellow already, then you're adding an additional green die.
Right. Okay.
So I got 2 successes and 1 advantage. Now, in the rules, it's destructive, which means that if it's attacking a vehicle or like planetary scale target, it adds plus 10 damage for each success rather than the plus 1 damage. So what do you want? It says it follows regular rules for personal scale attacks.
Let's say that it'll add 3 for a personal scale attack, because we're ignoring all the weird vehicle rules because I think that's crazy, but add 3 for each additional one instead of 1. That makes sense to
Success?
me. In terms
Okay,
of being nasty.
so I'm ignoring 20 soak? Is that right? I only got 1 advantage. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
I needed 2 advantage to trigger that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is 19 damage.
19 damage. Okie dokie. The blast sizzles deep into the central core of the plague bearer, just boring a hole through the chest and down and out through the groin as it sinks lower. And you would expect any mortal foe to just fall immediately dead. However, you watch the plague bearer just shudder, and its center half reconnects, and it's thinner, and there's less of it, but it is unharmed and undead. And not unharmed, it's harmed, but it's not dead. Karl.
It's a wash. Came out nothing.
Karl, you just hammer a bunch of bolt rounds into this plague bearer, but what you're watching is its body healing over as quickly as the bolts can explode matter out of it. It's just sucking, and you can see the liquid of the swamp running up its legs and filling in the gaps as it goes. And Flynch, when you look a moment later, you see that same liquid grotesquerie filling in the plague bearer opposite you. Azraul, you approach the central plague bearer, who raises a hand on a shaking wrist to get you to stop. What do you do?
If you have nothing to tell me to further my path, get out of my way.
This is not the grandfather's fight. Still we watch with great interest.
And the plague bearers step aside and allow the 3 of you to advance into the charnel pit of rot.
Into the pit we go.
Yeah.
And watch you shall.
And the moment you step into the pit, all 3 of you, and you take one more step forwards, the world spins around you. And you find yourself in a vast, vast library beyond imaginings in terms of its scale. It stretches as far as the eye can see, forward and back. And it is full of impossible geometry. Just non-Euclidean, completely abstract, insane geometry where you're watching staircases appear and disappear. You're seeing vast gold stacks that bend, fold, twist, seemingly moving forwards and backwards in time. You're watching distant figures in robes walk upstairs, backstairs. You're watching people hold out hands, and books they've dropped are reappearing in them as they move backwards in time with their research, or other figures reading these great tomes. Throughout this vast space, which is in near infinite distance up and down, the priorities here are marble, gold, and glass. You're seeing everywhere. It is incredibly well decorated. It is beautiful, but ultimately disturbing if you stop to take in any part of the geometry. And throughout it, you see stationed the rubricae. And you realize now, looking upon the Marines in this space, that the rubricae that existed at the Everworld Market were a shadow of true rubricae. They'd clearly been left behind, abandoned, and not looked after. These are rubricae in shining armor. They are in flawless condition. They stand with glowing eyes as statued protectors here It's a different world and you don't like it. But the most fascinating thing you see are small pink horrors, which is both a technical term for them for Dell, who knows the models, and an adequate description for the others. Pink horrors are about 5 feet tall. They have a large central body with fanged mouths. They have very long limbs and arms, probably closer to 3.5, 4 feet tall. A central torso with arms. They're clawed at the end. And these ones are wearing white robes, and they all have gold glasses that sit hooked behind their ears and coming forwards and resting in place. And they're running up and down the hallways. They're carrying books. They're passing books to each other. It is an incredibly unpredictable process. And one of the horrors just stalks up to all of you and goes, Azraul, can you roll me one of your psychic tests?
Oh, sure.
And what's it saying again, Ryan? Thank you.
Approximately.
Wonderful. All right.
It's a demon language.
Do I get any boost on this? I took my hacking cough setback.
Oh, your hacking cough is gone.
Oh, thanks.
You've escaped out of the swamp, and it is you are all breathing so much easier. Walking into this place when the world changed around you for the first time, you could feel yourself almost walking through something. It was almost like a static barrier that seemed to sweep through you, and when you came through, it did not travel with you.
Great. So Azraul will take a deep breath and let it out, and I will roll 2 successes, 2 advantages.
Nice.
You can converse fluently with the horrors. They speak a language that is shifting, that is maddening, that would drive any actual linguist insane. But when you walk within it and you understand the powers of Zeech, you can follow the seemingly random and abstract pattern of jumping from tongue to tongue to tongue of any language that has ever been spoken. And what this horror is saying to you is, welcome to the Tiskin Library. What can I get you for?
Okay. Yeah. Azraul is not stopping walking, and I'm assuming this horror is following along, but Azraul will speak to it in maddening tongue of no, I'm going to say what he's going to say.
Yeah, no, but it's cool. Karl and Flynch, can you both roll me a discipline check?
Yeah.
But what Azraul will actually say is...
Difficulty 3, fam. Go ahead, Azraul.
Yeah. All of my care and respect to your master and God. We are on a path that I must walk. That is all I require.
But this is the great Tiskin Library. You must know that you must seek knowledge here. You must give and you must take. What will you teach us?
And another horror runs out of the crowd and has a gigantic book with a quill. And when you look at the quill, you can actually see that instead of the end of a feather, it's the optic nerve of a person. And at the end is an eyeball that is watching the writing as it happens. And you realize that even the quills here are stolen and perverted from the souls of archivists to make sure that they are eternally remembering.
God.
How did your checks go, Karl
3
and
threats.
Flynch?
No kidding. Twinsies once again. 3 threats. Best
cute.
buddies who are going to kill each other.
Hot damn.
As you both hear this conversation as the walk is going on, the language is maddening. And it is triggering fear in you. It is triggering paranoia. It is triggering immense frustration. You are in a class where everyone is smarter than you. And it's that kind of like getting bullied based on intelligence. Not that it's being consciously done by you, Azraul, to be clear. It's just that's the purpose of this language, is to kind of drive you into self-despair and then a desperate attempt to learn until you are trapped and eventually become one of those pens. So knowing that hearing this is doing this to you, what do you do?
I think, like the big kid who is being outsmarted in class, there's a physical response on the table for Karl.
Correct.
I think he picks up one of the horrors.
Great.
and
You have the
begins-
one who's currently talking with Azraul in range, or the one who just arrived with the book and the pen as you're walking.
The one that just arrived, I think,
Great.
and begins to shake it, and just says, "Get out of our way."
And it's just more insanity right into your ears.
Yeah, and he's just shaking harder then. It's just, it's dueling banjos of insanity and shaking.
Great. So that's going to continue. But while that happens, Flynch, what are you doing?
Flynch, there's kind of a battle going on in Flynch's mind because Flynch would like to just sweep them all away with her utility tentacle. However, Azraul has been leading them on the right path. Like, Azraul's instincts were correct. They were correct with the plague bearers. So she's gonna just trust that Azraul will sort it out. So instead of attacking, she's just gonna go fetal position and cover her ears and hope that it stops soon.
Great. So you're just walking, hunched over, ears covered.
Oh, are we walking?
Yeah. You haven't stopped
Walking.
moving because Azraul didn't stop moving.
Mm-hmm. All right, then it's just, hunched over like you got a stomach ache. Except
Great.
covering your ears.
Can you roll me a perception, difficulty 2?
Yeah. Perception. Perception is cunning. Not that cunning. One advantage.
One advantage. Carl's doing something, but you're bent over and looking down, so you don't know what. You can just tell from the way he's walking something's happening. Azraul, you are having your conversation. Karl picks up the horror that has come with the eye quill, and another horror just runs over with the same notes, ready to write down what's going on. And the head librarian just says, "Yes, give a secret. Learn. Yes. What secrets do you have for us? For Magnus."
All right. So Azraul is going to do more damage to himself and take his hand, put it against his chest, and rip open some of the front of his chest. And then using the blood from having ripped that open, put his hand into the book and write down the name, Thrauk's name, and the name of the Sindrian, Son of Perfection, and write them in his blood in this like chaotic, strange, different symbols. And say, "The prophecy, parts of it, now leave us be."
Yeah, and they will badger you until you write the full prophecy, but when you do, man, that was such a good answer, I can't make you roll a die, so they'll just be like, yeah, that's actually a really fucking good give. So the horror is thrilled. However, it circles back to Karl and just says, "Yes, his secret, his secret." Karl is furiously shaking a horror. And now 2 more are coming over to talk to him. I need to know what both of you are doing, I think at the same time, because I think you may have very different instinctual reactions.
Karl wants to throw the one in his hand into the group of like assembling horrors, just like they are nurglings to him. They're just, at this point, just gibbering, disgusting little freaks.
Yeah, so there are 2 coming towards you, the head librarian and another, for lack of a better term, but like archivist.
Yeah.
And then the others are just kind of like passing around the hall. They have no actual direct attention for you. They're doing their job.
No, but I think his perception is skewed at this point of just this awful gibbering that he can't understand that is driving him crazy. So he just, "Get out of my face," and throws him at one of the other horrors.
Great. So he's just going to throw horrors at horrors. That's pretty fast, so I don't think there's a whole lot you can do about that, Azraul. Karl, can
That's
you roll
fine.
me? I would accept a melee light, if we want to call it that, or a ranged light, whatever you feel this is more in Karl's spirit. They are very fucking close.
Ranged. Yeah, he's going to throw him.
Great.
So that's agility. Do you want a difficulty on that?
Difficulty will be difficulty 3. Okay. Difficulty 2. They're very, very close.
Okay.
So the upgraded difficulty will be 2, and their defense is 1, so add 1 setback.
Okay, I'm going to add a setback and just roll that. Okay. Oh wow. 4 successes, 1 threat.
Okie dokie. You throw the horror, and the head librarian gets out of the way, but the archivist collides with the other archivist horror, and they both explode into a swirl of magic and gore and viscera. But when you look down, Karl, instead of 2 pink horrors, there are now 4 blue horrors, which are half the size of a pink horror in their own uniform. And they are looking up at you with teeth bared until the head librarian goes, and this is all still, again, Karl, driving you even fucking crazier.
Yeah.
But what you're hearing is like, we cannot attack if there is a secret. We must get the secret. But if they betray... Azraul, you've heard that, and Karl is probably looking to do more violence.
Yeah,
what do you do?
For sure, Karl is like, oh, you want to fight? Okay, like, I understand that.
All right. Azraul will, while still walking, put up a hand and do a little, like, come hither to the little horror.
All right, there are 4 of them. They're there.
His secret is that he thinks he knows a prophecy, and his mind is empty.
Him being stupid is too small a secret. We need a good one. What does he know that no other knows?
All right, so while still walking, Karl Etogaur. Give a secret. Speak a secret aloud. Something you hold dear in your heart that no one else knows. Do it now.
For these things?
Stop talking unless it is the answer.
A secret only I know. I am being tested. I am a counter to balance the betrayal of this traitor behind me. But with these newest developments, my secret is I have doubts. I had an opportunity with Thrauk laying at our feet, and I did not take it, and I don't fully know why yet. There. That's my secret.
And the horrors just write it down. And the lead horror is like, very good secret, yes. What about this one? And the lead horror just leans over and pokes Flynch right in the shoulder really hard. Flynch, you've heard none of this. You missed another confession. So
Yeah.
Your ears are covered.
Flynch.
I was gonna say, I don't know what they just said. I just got all of 2.
You just got poked.
He got poked.
Well, priest, secret, or everyone gets flames.
Is it more of the same, Azraul?
Yes.
And Karl will turn around and lift up Flynch. If she's got a hand on each ear, he just reaches down and grabs each wrist and picks her up so that she's hanging from her wrists, releasing her ears, hopefully, and just says, the little beasts need a secret. I gave one. Azraul scrawled something in a book. Now it is your turn. Make it good so we can leave.
Secret. I swore allegiance to Thrauk, and I didn't mean it.
And you just
I only serve
hear
the blood god.
all the horrors
Thrauk can be
start
manipulated.
growling. The horrors are growling even
They
louder.
requested a secret, not a lie, traitor.
It's not a lie. That's why it's a secret. Because you don't believe me. And Thrauk doesn't know.
Do better look at them.
The horrors themselves, you can now see, are channeling warp flames in their hands. They're just summoning balls of flame and little warp portals, just tears in reality that are appearing between their fists. And they're just staring at all three of you now.
Okay, so Karl thought, I can take these little guys, but if they are tearing reality with their hands, Karl will take a beat, place Flynch back on the ground, on her feet, and say,
Priority 1. You said survival. This is it, traitor. A secret. Or we die. We are cast into the warp.
I want to kill Karl and eat him.
Ah! And they all just are seemingly disappointed. Because technically that one clears, and the librarian's like, nah, we thought we could eat all of you. Fine. They like write down the secret. Karl, Flynch has never said aloud that killing you is part of Flynch's plan that you're aware of, nor cannibalizing you. What's your reaction to that being the secret? And the demon's reaction, meaning they know it's true.
just reaffirms what I had already decided, and now I know. Now Karl knows the traitor's treachery is real. It was always real.
Flynch, how do you feel having had to say that to the giant black legionnaire face-clad hulking bone blade monster?
Flynch just kind of wishes she'd said more of the secret.
Flynch, you can.
He deserves to die because he ruined the plan. We were supposed to escape. He ruined it. He ruined it. He ruined it.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Aha, interesting. Yes.
And all you guys are hearing, it's just driving you fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But the head librarian turns to you, Azraul, and says,
So what tome do you seek here in the Tiskin Library? Everyone who comes to the library seeks a tome of knowledge, of something they must learn. And now that you have come in and paid the price, undoubtedly you are here to learn a secret. A power, a knowledge. What must you learn? What can Zeech and Magnus do for you?
You couldn't see it, but in that pause, Del just kind of like opened and closed her mouth. Like, it was very funny.
You didn't expect to make a bargain with one of the lying
just wanted
knowledge
to move
demons
on,
and
Yeah,
get
I just
something in
wanted to
return?
get through this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess from my having communed with the gods, Azrael's under the assumption that I have to just stand in a place. But like, I guess the question is this part of do I need to stand in front of a book, or is this an additional boon that is unrelated to the march?
You feel the same pull towards a specific place that you've been doing anyways. If you had to guess, it sounds like this is just a bonus. Like you might get to read a little bit along the way.
Great. Sorry, I'm thinking. I'm racking the brains. It was so one-track mind.
It's okay. It's a long walk. So you're walking, but the head librarian is getting more and more agitated as you think about this, Azraul, because clearly The head librarian assumed you are here for a reason, because this is why everyone comes to the library, and this is the way things are done. You paid the entrance, you read your book, you get the fuck out. This is the deal.
All right. I want... I want a book. Okay. Since they can't tell what I'm saying anyway, I would like information about the history and location of Urlach Gower.
Ah, yes, a good choice. Forbidden information, dark, pacted for protection and unpacted by Magnus for knowledge.
And they just send a horror off scampering and bring you back the book, and you are able to read and study as you walk.
Great.
And you realize, as the three of you are continuing to walk forwards, that you are closing in on the destination. And based on your previous experience, you expect to be teleported somewhere else.
Yes.
Do you return the book?
Oh, definitely. I don't need to keep the book. I just wanted some information.
Okay. Listen, you're a priest of chaos. You want to steal from the Tisket library? That's allowed. It's all possible.
No. We're bros. You don't see. This is its own separate. We're chill. We're bros. We don't fuck each other over unless someone tells me to.
Great.
That's how you get along and take a penny, leave a penny. You don't fuck with that.
Ironclad code, unless someone tells me to.
Excellent. This all checks out. So you return your book. Can you roll me I would accept tech use. I would expect a lore check. Like, that would be fine. I would also say a discipline check for just your ability to kind of focus while you are walking in this library and not being distracted by your injuries / your quest, your ability to actually pick things up.
I would love a discipline check, please.
Bam, done. Difficulty 3.
Let's see if I actually get anything out of that. All right. 1 success, 1 advantage.
All right, you pick up a pretty solid understanding of the sanguinary worlds where Urlach Gower can be found within them. And the book actually gives you a psychic imprint so that you could bring yourself to the planet Gower is on for the next unforeseen amount of time. But if you had to guess based on the sacrifices and the quest you were on, it will allow you to, at the end of this, get to where you were meant to go. So it turns out this boon was quest related the whole time.
There we go.
You hand the book back. The librarian just says, yes, excellent. Come again with good secrets. And you walk forwards into a golden archway that seems to lead to nothing. There's just a giant gap and a giant falling down where you can see the library is reversed. What do you do?
Just keep on walking. I trust.
And Azraul steps off the cliff and falls. Behind Azraul, the two of you have now seen this happen. What do you do?
I run and grab for Azraul.
Okay, let's roll me an agility.
Mm-hmm.
And athletic, or no, yeah, agility. It's gotta be. It's just like a stupid thing.
Do you want me to use my ranks in athletics? But
yes. Let's
agility?
do it at athletics with agility because this would be about speed. Okay. Yep. Difficulty for this one will be 5.
Yeah.
And I think I lose out on agility. +1 setback for agility because of my
muscles.
New dimensions.
That makes sense.
My new measurements.
It is a 5 because you did not expect Azraul to walk off the cliff. So it is one of those where you're like, oh, fuck. And then you act, which innately with this kind of thing, with the fearlessness of the walk, makes it very hard to catch somebody.
Yeah. Ooh, not looking good. Let's see. Holy shit. 3 successes, 2 threat.
You managed to grab Azraul, but the two of you are starting to tip over together now. Flynch, you are seeing this. You watched Azraul about to walk off a cliff. Now you are seeing Karl grab him, but it seems like both of them are going to go over in a heartbeat.
my momentum carrying me.
That's
over the
perfect.
edge.
Flynch will just push into Karl so they all go over together because Flynch needs to get away from these freaking gibbering, like chaotic, like disorienting little shits that are like around. She's ready. She's just ready to do anything. Just go.
Normally I'd make you roll, but this shit was already happening. So Flynch lunges forwards and shoving all three of you fall off the edge. And falling downwards, you can see the library rippling around and behind you. And then all of a sudden you find yourself stopped, still facing down, and then you feel gravity invert. So what used to be sideways is now the ground as you are surrounded by clouds.
That's actually making me feel like nauseated, like thinking about it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that
Continue.
then turn pink and purple, and you can smell hallucinogens within them, and you can feel all of your senses become enhanced. The feeling of the air on your skin, the feeling of your wounds, the feeling of all of the grotesque combinations of flesh and metal that are your body, Flynch, the feeling of every bone spur inside your warped body, Karl. And Azraul, you feel the echo of the cough. You feel the wingtips that are missing. You feel all of that. And the soporific musk begins to part as though there was a subtle breeze. And advancing out of it, you see demonettes of Slaanesh, built like lithe dancers whose arms at the elbow down blend into chitinous, whatever they say, purple.
Chitinous.
Thank you, chitinous. It was my first instinct. Like almost claws and giant stabbing implements, cloven hooves, their bodies blending into androgyny, some femme, some mask, every presentation in between, all of them beautiful, sinuous, moving forwards. You could just see them opening their arms for you, and you're feeling yourselves be overwhelmed by the beauty that you are seeing, by the scents that are pouring into your body, by the sensations that are overwhelming you. And Karl and Flynch, you recognize this as a realm of Slaanesh, the hated foe of Khorne. Azraul, you also know it's Slaanesh. You just don't have the same amount of hatred for it, but you are inside the realm of the god of pleasure and excess. Can you all roll me a resilience to resist this coming down upon you?
Yeah, difficulty?
Difficulty on this will be 4. Karl, you have remained loyal to Khorne despite your doubts over this whole time, so you get 2 boost for that. Azraul, you have a bunch of experience, so your difficulty is 1 lower. And you will also get a boost because you have dealt with these things before.
Great.
Flynch, your faith has been a little shakier. You're kind of torn between more of the mortal realms. So I don't think you have the same kind of like willpower-based resistance that the others do to the musk. You seem grumpy about that. Do you disagree, or is it just a sad fact?
No, fine. I got 2 failures.
Oh. 2 successes, 2 advantages. Cord looks after his own baby.
I got 6 advantages. That's it.
Holy shit.
So Azraul, the waves of pleasure, pain, and excess wash over you, and you find yourself stopped in place. For the first time since you have felt the pull, your implacable walk has halted, and you have your staff in front of you as though it is warding off the waves that are rolling towards you. You are not giving in to them, but you cannot move past them. Flynch, you fall to your knees, just weeping at the beauty, and raise your hands in welcome to the glorious demonettes that are dancing towards you. Just endless pleasures await in a land of beauty. What do you say to your newfound saviors?
Yeah, Flynch in kind of a daze just says, finally, and falls to her knees.
Karl, you're the only person who's not fallen for any of this dog shit. You feel what is desired of you. You feel this want for submission, and you refuse. You just channel that rage for Khorne. And you are the only person standing there. You've seen Flynch fall. You've heard Flynch's joy at this desecration. You've seen Azraul get buffeted by the winds, and you are the only one that is unaffected. What do you yell at the demonettes in front of you?
What do I yell at them? Oh, man. He'll yell,
Hated enemies of Khorne, be gone from my presence or be cut down.
And in a symbolic gesture, you raise your sword, feeling the rage of Khorne pouring through your blood, and you hammer its point down into the earth. And from it, you feel the power of Khorne emit, and the ground turns from soft, supple grass to just hard, black obsidian rock. And the effect spreads out around you, and the demonettes are shrieking, and Flynch, you're devastated because the demonettes are falling back. The musk is flowing away. The joy and the pleasure are gone, and you're just left with this hollow desire. Azraul, you feel the wind stop, but you all look around you, and you can see that Khorne has taken an active role in this moment. And the world around you is shifting until you see magma and black rock as far as the eye can see. You can hear armies clashing in the distance. You can see, flesh hounds of Khorne, these just cornate, blood-soaked, fanged dogs sprinting in the distance. And in front of the three of you stand 3 bloodletters of Khorne. And for a moment, it feels like Khorne has saved you, until you remember that the blood god cares not from whence the blood flows, and the bloodletters charge at you.
This episode of the one-shot Blood Pact Requiem features Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at Hamstring on Twitter, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter, and our Game Master Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the one-shot's logo was created by Decapitated Markers. This show's theme music is Gothic Trip with Thunderhorse by Damiano Baldoni, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, Jahzzar, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com, our Twitter and Instagram at dumdumdice, and our Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice. And most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Spot Allen, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG, it's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Norma Byers, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Melissa Rain, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.